One of the problems of living in New Zealand and attempting to create videos for games that I enjoy is that most of the major announcements and content drops happen at some ungodly time in the morning. So I'm usually only seeing the tail end of the hype throughout the community, unless I've been made aware beforehand. Today, as of writing the script, when I woke up, people were still buzzing about a couple of announcements, one of them being the launch trailer release for Operation Motherland. If you haven't seen it, I'll have a link in the description, or you could always look it up yourself. Anyway, I'd suggest you watch that first if you'd like to make any sense of this video. So I won't beat around the bush here. Will this update, from what we can see in the trailer, have an impact on the quality of life in Breakpoint? I'll be the first to admit, other than jumping in to complete the smaller events that have popped up, I haven't really put too many hours into the game outside of the initial campaign. It just didn't maintain my attention. For an open world game, although beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, it felt dead. I have no ambition to repeat missions, and outside of these there really isn't all that much going on out there, especially when compared to Wildlands, where there would be truckloads of civilians mulling about doing their thing, with hostiles dotted throughout. Well, I feel like this update might be addressing this. But before I get into that, let's talk about the story, as, you know, this is what initially drew me to these Tom Clancy games. After the events of Operation Greenstone, where the Ghost would go on to take down Walker and the bulk of his wolves, Nomad and his team leave Aroa, having now completed their mission. However, months later, the island quickly became a strategic place for powerful countries who were looking to get hold of the technology contained within. Seeing this threat, the CIA has tasked an old friend of the Ghost's, Karen Bowman, with defusing the potential of this global crisis. The CIA aims to ease global tensions by giving power on the island to a neutral force, Haruhi Ito and the Outcasts, turning Aroa into an autonomous country. But in order to do this, they're going to need some help, so the Ghosts have been sent back to assist the Outcasts with removing the remaining hostile forces on the island. Sentinel and the Wolves are still wreaking havoc, but there is another enemy recently seen on the island that has also joined the fight, the Bodarks. And this time, they have brought helicopters, vehicles, and greater numbers. So there we have it. I especially like how they have avoided, without saying, the events of the smaller operations that have occurred since Greenstone. The story of Cole D. Walker really was the best narrative piece, and I'm certainly not upset that the other ops on Aroa are sort of being ignored at this point. However, the biggest question I see being asked from this trailer is when and how did Nomad and his team leave the island? And I get it, they've been stuck there, fighting away, with no support because of the drone swarm stopping anyone from entering and exiting the island. But I don't really see this as story breaking. Unlike other ludicrous additions, I'm looking at you Terminator event, there have been so many situations where the Ghosts have been able to assist various people with escaping, opening up holes in the drone defense to allow entry or exit. The biggest question I have is why did the Ghosts leave? There was obviously a large enough force of Sentinel and Wolves still active, beyond what the Outcasts could handle. Maybe they were called away for something more important elsewhere, forgetting that what they were leaving behind was as powerful as it is. Perhaps they thought the Outcasts would be fine, but the introduction of the Bodarks tipped them over the edge. I don't know, but like I keep saying to people in the comments, hopefully the Motherland update will answer these questions for us. We shall see. Anyway, for now, let's get back to what I was saying about the liveliness of Aroa. Operation Motherland is introducing a new mode to the game, called Conquest. This is an alternative mode to the Breakpoint story mode, where player actions have consequences on what happens throughout Aroa. Basically, this is a territory control type situation, where we will be faced with a number of objectives that we're familiar with, like destroying stuff, securing camps, stealing things from the enemy, and choosing to extract or eliminate lieutenants who are dotted around the map. The outcome of these events will lead to changes on Aroa. Taking down enemies will show an increase in Outcast presence in the area, leading to an increase in faction warfare in the territory. Each territory will have different challenges, but based on the strength of the faction and power, there will be a change in checkpoints, convoys, hostage situations, and patrols. This all sounds eerily similar to what we have in the Division 2, with control points and factions taking over different districts. But at this stage it appears to be a little more dynamic than the open world activity in the Division. However, this is a whole new game mode. Anyone familiar with the Division will know how repetitive this can be, capturing everything just for it to flip back over after a set period of time. I'm hoping Motherland will be a bit different, offering more replayability, rather than something that just ends up feeling like more of a chore after the first couple of times of doing it. But in saying that, it'll still add a hell of a lot more life to an environment that has been lacking it since the beginning. I'm just looking forward to having a reason to explore the whole map again. Again, talking to the liveliness of Aroa, a larger variety of atmospheric conditions will be added. With the region being split into 5 different zones, the weather condition will also change depending on where you are, including the cloudiness, rain, fog conditions, and sunniness. But also the environmental effects including insects, fumes, grasses, and bird flight have been adjusted. And no, this doesn't mean a static weather system. The conditions will vary day by day for each zone. I like this. It's the little things that make a big difference to me. Obviously, we'll also be seeing a large range of bug fixes throughout the game, as well as a number of well overdue quality of life improvements. I'll have a link to this list in the description. Last but certainly not least, the Bodarks. I'm actually disappointed with myself that I haven't made a video on these guys. They're certainly one of the more interesting factions of the Ghost Recon universe. Maybe I'll get onto that soon. Like I said earlier, they're back on Aroa. Allied to Sentinel and the Wolves, they will be the largest challenge going forward. They'll be arriving on Aroa's shores sporting 5 different archetypes. Troopers, the standard Bodark soldier, tacticians who will call for backup, oppressors, heavily armoured rushers, dreadnoughts armed with rocket launchers, and seekers who will use rifles and optical camouflage. Also, with the introduction of the Bodark, we'll be seeing a large influx of new Russian weapons and vehicle skins, as well as a number of new items in Maria's shop. Motherland appears to be Breakpoint's biggest update yet. Do I think it will be game-changing? It certainly looks promising. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll hold my final judgment until I've actually been able to sit down and play through it properly, but I'm excited at the potential. At the very least, I think this is a very good start, and I hope that they continue to build on the game with initiatives like this. In the meantime, I'm super rusty, so I think I'll jump in and dust off the characters, in preparation for the release. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!